2020 is a good example, or even 2019, where you have goals, but you realize, like, whether it's circumstance or like whether you control it or not, something happens, you get derailed. How do you do that reset?
Yeah, the thing I always tell people is I like to plan in pencil. Don't plan in pen, because you have to definitely be adaptable, because things are constantly changing, right? I mean, we got shocked in March of 2020, not only in our coffee shop business, but also in real estate, right? Who would have known that we would have seen such a inventory shortage and such a demand for product, both in the commercial and the residential space? Nobody would have saw that coming. If you and I did, Chris, we probably would have bought a lot more real estate than we did 2 years ago,
Oh
right?
yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to plan a pencil, and I think you have to stay flexible. So if you're, I think you have to evaluate your goals, if not monthly, quarterly. One of my tricks or secrets, I guess you like to say, is I like to look at my goals every day, because we're not perfect. We're human beings. There are going to be days you and I fall off the cliff, fall off the tracks, Chris, where maybe we were supposed to work out, but we didn't, or we were supposed to underwrite a deal, but we didn't, or we were supposed to call a new investor, but we, something didn't happen, right? But if we look at those goals every day, we can remind ourselves, like, man, I didn't hit this goal yesterday. I really need to make sure I stay on track. And if you're consistently not hitting that goal, maybe you need to take that goal off your sheet. Maybe it's not the right place or the right time for you to actually be working on that goal, and you're over committing, right? So constantly evaluating your goals, whether it be monthly or quarterly or even semi-annually, to go, okay, here's where I started the year, here's where I'm actually going, and adjust your goals. I always like to say you should rig the game to win. Doesn't mean set unattainable goals, but you do need some small victories in there to sort of motivate you, accomplish some easy things, so that when you hit those bigger goals, which are more challenging, you have some small wins under your belt to sort of give you that motivation to keep going.
Yeah, it sounds. Do you follow EOS?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah, I'm actually reading Traction right now, but I'm not done with it. So
okay.
Don't ruin it for me.
I think we talked about that in Orlando.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I mean, some of the stuff you're saying. So you definitely know what you're doing on this front. But some of the stuff you're saying are, I'm picking up from EOS and Traction. Great book if anyone wants to check that out. Yeah. So any final thoughts on goal setting or productivity tips for someone who just wants to crush it in 2022?
Yeah. Great question. I appreciate you asking, Chris. I think just set some attainable goals, but also I always tell people aim high, because even when you miss, you're still above average. So, it's kind of a mindset thing, like with multifamily, right? It's like people are like, oh, I want to buy, one house this year. Like, no, set it for 5, set it for 10. And even if you miss and you buy 2, 3, or 4, you're still way above the one you were originally planning on expanding, buying. So I would say push yourself a little bit, stretch. You got to get uncomfortable in order to find success in this business. So make yourself uncomfortable intentionally. And then, just like I said, you manage what you don't measure. So just be, looking at your goals all the time, and try to time block. I know that's a big thing in a lot of real estate books for both realtors and just business people. The One Thing is a great book by Gary Keller. It talks about time blocking a lot. You can't really manage your day. Again, it goes back to setting your goals. If your goals aren't on your day, I think Gary talks about putting your goals early in the morning. You want it to be one of the first things that you do throughout the day, so that you can have those wins, because we all know that our productivity falls off as the day sort of goes throughout the day. So do your stuff early in the morning, set your goals, put them on your calendar, time block them, and just plan in pencil. That would be my big tips.